Welcome everyone to Swimming with Sharks, Adventures in Sales Ops. My name is Will Smith and this is Season 1, Episode 19. That's right, we've gotten all the way to 19 and today we have a wonderful show for you. But before we get to that, please make sure that if you are, wherever you're tuning in from, whether it's Facebook, whether it is YouTube, whether it is Twitter, please let us know where you're tuning in from. And if you have any questions for our guest today, please, we're going to try to, please put them in the comments and we're going to try to answer them live on the air. And if we don't get to them, we'll get back to you somehow in some way. So please welcome, actually, let's get to today's adventure. Here's what we're talking about. Today, we have our introduction. You're listening to it right now. And today, our guest is Katey Fortun. And I got to make the dad joke. We are fortunate to talk to Katey Fortun. So we're going to wrap things up after we talk with her because she is a very interesting, we're going to talk about not only her day job, but also kind of her, I hate to call it a side hustle, but we'll speak to her about how she is an educator, how she is a speaker, and what she does in addition to how she helps her clients and building relationships in what they need for their commercial buildings in furniture and design. So very interesting things here. So we're going to talk to Katey, and then we're going to wrap things up with a question of the day, and then of course we'll see you until next time. That's right, Tuesdays at 2, Swimming with Sharks, Adventures in Sales Ops. So welcome to the show. Those of you that are joining us here, please let us know where you're joining us from, and let's find out a little bit about Katey before we say hi to her. She, and I love how she put this because she's in sales and she says she makes friends for a living, which is fantastic. When it comes to customer service, I have to tell you, I want Katey on my side. So I love that she put it that way and how she framed it in sales. She will randomly ice skate anywhere, anytime. So I believe she's in the Wisconsin area. So that's definitely a great place to be able to do that. She loves to travel and she embraces her different ability. She is a speaker, an educator, an account executive. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Shark Tank, Katey Fortun. Welcome, Katey.
Hey, thank you. That was a great intro. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Hey, when you got somebody that says, I make friends for a living, you got to give them a good intro. It's just that simple. That's just being nice. So tell me about, I'm going to jump right into it because there's so much I want to talk to you about. Tell me about, what is the strangest place that you have ever ice skated?
I don't know if I could call it strange, Will, but the most interesting thing I've done with ice skating, and it is actually on YouTube to watch, so go check it out.
Details.
There was one morning, it was years ago, a couple years ago, 3-4 years ago, and I woke up at like 5 a.m. and I'm like, I hear ice on the windows. And we live in Wisconsin. That's not that unrealistic. We get weird storms here. But I'm like, oh my gosh, is it icing out? And my boyfriend at the time, fiance now, he goes, what are you talking about? I'm like, I got to go check out the situation. I got it. So I got our dog. We went outside, glare ice, everything, glare ice. Now, most people would say, that's a bad day. What did I do? I went and slid across to our garage, grabbed my ice skates, and Chad walked down the stairs. He goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm taking advantage of this epic situation and I need your help. He goes, Katey, it is literally 5:30 in the morning. It's dark out. I'm like, I'm going to go ice skate up and down the road. Oh. He goes, you are not. I'm like, yep, I am. So he couldn't believe it. He should have because I'm like that. So 6 o'clock in the morning, I was ice skating, practicing up and down our dead-end road because we live in the country in the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin. And by the time the sun came out, I asked him to video it. And so he videotaped it. My friend was having a bad day the day before, and I wanted to send it to her to make her laugh, is honestly what I was doing. And so he videotaped it. I posted it on like Facebook, and we'll say it went like mini viral. Okay. It was on multiple news stations. I think Snapchat picked it up, like places, and they said it on Snapchat. Random girl in Wisconsin ice skating on road. I'm like, I'm not that random.
Oh my goodness!
It was so fun, and it was so much fun. So anytime, it's happened a couple other times. Anytime it gets like super icy, I'm like, can I go ice skate on the middle of the road?
Oh
Yes,
my
I can.
goodness. I love it. Definitely a unique situation. I'm glad that you are in a different or a kind of a more of a rural area, so you don't have to worry about cars. That was my
Nope.
first thought. Oh my goodness, what about the cars? So that's good. Not bad for a random girl ice
Yes.
skating at 5 in the morning. That's insane. It's a good thing you got that on, that you have it recorded for posterity. I'm going to have to do a little YouTube search for that. And I encourage our audience to do the same, to check out this random girl, whom by the end of the show, you will not be random. You will know Katey very well by the end of the show. So go check it out. So let me ask you next question. In your bio, something that I found very interesting, the last kind of, the last, I guess, bullet point in your biography was you embrace your different ability. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, yes. So I'll make this really short because this is a big thing I talk about a lot on my
Okay.
side hustle business, as you call it, which it is kind of like that now, and that's good. I struggled a lot in school when I was young, and between fourth and fifth grade, I was diagnosed with a learning disability. So I actually am dyslexic. And so I want to tie this back into sales though, and this is what I love to teach kids on is there are things you're really good at and there are things you are not. And that's okay. So learning about yourself, knowing what you're good at and what you're not is really important. And when the doctor asked me after they told me all the stuff, my mom was there with me. He said, "Katey, what are you going to tell your friends when you go back to school?" And I told him, I wish I like could high five myself back then. I told him, I'm just going to tell him I learned differently. That's all it is, right?
Exactly.
It's that simple. I'm no less than anyone else, and neither is anyone else in the world. So my different ability, and I call it a different ability. Honestly, it's a mindset thing for me.
Mhm.
Technically, it is a disability, and I'm not taking that away from it because I do need that status, or not status, I guess, but that name, so I get the help that I needed in
Mhm.
school and
Right.
college.
Hmm.
But I call it my different ability because that is what it is. We are all different, and we all have different circumstances, and I feel that knowing your differences and what you do differently will help you in your career in whatever that is. So, Will, I didn't go into school being a professional speller or writer. I went into the school to be an interior designer, and that led to my sales career. And I never expected it, but it did, and it's been the best move I've ever made. So that's my different ability, and I use it every day to my
Yeah.
advantage. Knowing that I can speak well, I've been practicing, of course. I love speaking in front of
Hmm.
people,
Right.
and getting out in front of people and learning about others is how I feel I'm pretty darn successful in sales.
That's incredible. I love how you frame that. I especially love how you are able to say, listen, you got to find what your strengths are. And I'm a big proponent for strength finders. I've gone through it a couple of times myself. And the fact that you are out there and encouraging others, especially young people, they need to hear these messages now so that if they don't fit into the common four buckets of learning styles, that doesn't mean
Yep.
that they can't learn, that there's just a different way that they learn.
Yep.
So thank you for that, your encouragement for our young people in that way. I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic. So you mentioned your sales career, and you're doing quite well from what I understand. So tell me a commonly held belief in the sales industry that you just disagree with.
Oh, gosh, this could be all day. So, one of the biggest ones, and I'm sure a lot of people say this, is it's really tiring to hear it. I'm just going to be honest,
Hmm.
is when they're like, "Oh, you're in sales, like the car salesman, like you're trying to like cheap us out of," and I'm like, no. Like, first of all, give car salesmen and women a chance too, because things have changed over
Absolutely.
the years, and
Absolutely.
I truly believe in building relationships. A lot of people do, but like I go that extra step of like, no, no, we're gonna be friends. Like, Will, we're sitting here, we're friends now for
You
real,
have no
whether like
choice.
honestly you like it or not. So,
You have no
um,
choice. No choice.
right? It's like we're friends, and but that's how I treat everyone. So that was a misconception that, and it still happens to this day. When you say you're in sales, that's honestly why I don't tell people. I tell people I make friends for a living. And then they get the face of like, what does that mean? And then I'm like, well, sorry, for the common folk, I sell things. And then they're like, oh, and then we have a conversation, and it's like kind of an icebreaker, and it's really fun to talk about because it really is that, right? We're going in to help people. That's the way I see it. Not everyone's like me, and that's great because I'm different, and so are you. I know so many people that take that approach that are so successful because, let's be real, who really wants to be sold to? No one. So let's go out and make friends and connect with them and learn about them, learn about their families. And I'm grateful I grew up and I live in an area that is so kind and amazing. I've only been like screamed at a few times. They were just probably having a bad day. It's fine. But, most people are pretty awesome to work with. And they're even better to work with when you actually care about them and really do care about them and ask, how is your grandkids? How's your dog? Oh, you're retiring soon? Bring flowers in. And it's not to suck up. It's like, because I actually care. And I hang out with my customers all the time. So, pre-COVID.
Well, of course, right? Of course, you have to make that qualification pre-COVID that you were hanging out with your customers. So how do you make that balance that it doesn't come across as just kind of fake, enthusiasm for someone? Yeah, just because you're just trying to make the sale,
right? I actually go into it in that mindset right before. I love cold calling, not cold phone calling, cold calling, like walking up in person, going and meet someone at their door. I learned everything I know about sales in the beginning. I've learned a lot since from my 75-year-old mentor, Doug. He saw something in me I never saw. I didn't even know him. There's a whole story behind that. And he's like, you're going to come work in sales. And I said, no, I'm not. And he taught me. The first day, I remember he sat down at a Burger King. Okay, let's paint this picture. A Burger King in a tiny town of like 5,000 people. And he had a coffee like a normal human being. I had a juice box because I don't like coffee. So, that's the dynamic there, okay?
What flavor? Apple juice? What flavor juice?
Orange juice.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So, I'm a child. So we sat there, and the first thing he said to me was, Katey, you're not here to sell. You're here to go out and make friends. That is your job, period. And I'm like, didn't you hire me for sales? Like, I was so confused. It made sense the more we talked about it, and the more it's still to this day, we still try to talk on a weekly basis. We actually sell against each other now. He is 75. He was retired like 4 times now, but he loves what he does. But we still talk all the time, and I will never forget that. He taught me that it's not about the sale, and that is what I go into it, and it has been very successful for me because I don't think about the sale first. I want to know them as a person. So.
Do you think knowing them as a person, does that help you in your in the sales?
Yes.
How so?
Because I don't expect, and some people are not going to like hearing this, but when I walk into a place for the first time, again, pre-COVID, because we can't go anywhere.
Can't really walk.
I know. Gosh, it'd be so nice when you can just open a door and say hi to a stranger again. Like, I can't wait. But when you walk into a place like that and you say, like, hi, my name is Katey. How are you? And just more of a conversation, like you're meeting someone new for the first time. And like, you're not going in there to be like, hey, look at all the stuff I have for you. No, like, let's learn about them. Let's see. I never expect someone to buy something from me the first time I see them. If you do, that's crazy because no one really normally does. But you go in and learn, like, it's like, I'm a big shoe person. And when I go into a shoe store, I have a specific shoe store I buy from because I love the people. And I go in, they know for a fact that I'm not going to buy a pair of shoes that day. I'm going to go look in there. I'm going to go check it out. They never push it on me. And I do come back and I have spent a lot of money on shoes. So I do that same thing, is going in there and just saying, hey, if you ever need anything down the road, let me know. Or another thing I've done, which gets me looks, but it also gets laughs after usually, is I'll walk through a space and out of nowhere, because I'm in commercial furniture sales and we do ergonomic tools and adjustable desks and chairs, whatever. And I go up and I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, I don't know who you are, but I'm telling you, can I adjust your computer screens for you? And the looks I get, I'm like, do you have neck problems? And they're like, yeah, I go to the chiropractor weekly. I said, okay, can we just move your screens down a little bit? And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, just sit like this for a little bit, try it. And I serve them before I try to sell them anything.
Mm-hmm.
I've multiple times been, hey, sir, you're totally using your, I actually sell you this chair, but can I show you how to use it? And then they're like, yeah. And I literally adjust their chair. And then when they sit down, this happened actually 2 weeks ago. And he sat down and he goes, this is a million times better. Oh my God.
That's incredible. That is great. Just helping them even before you start the conversation, or even before you really get to know them. I love how you take care of that, take care of them, even if they're not your customer. So, quick question for you. So you work a lot with manufacturer. Oh, you can't hear. Uh-oh. I think we lost Katey for a second there. Go ahead and try that now.
I cannot hear you.
Okay, so now you're back. And I think we might be a little bit delayed, actually. So, I can hear you, but you can't. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Somehow I cannot hear you.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay. I can definitely hear you. So, can you hear me now? Because I can hear you.
Okay, we're back. Oh my gosh, I don't know what happened.
A little bit of a delay there.
Yeah, something weird happened. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Where did I leave off?
You can tell that we're live, everyone. I should have had my please stand by technical difficulties ready to go.
That's so weird. Okay, we're good.
All right. So let me ask you, you work with a lot of manufacturers. What are some of the things that that manufacturers do that you wish they didn't?
Okay, yes, this is a great question. So I'm grateful. We have a lot of wonderful manufacturers we work with, specifically in the furniture fields. Something that I take very serious is partnering personally with ones that support us. Something that's really hard for me, and it happened recently. We responded to a bid because we were asked to. And I have different feelings about that sometimes, but when this all happened, it's kind of been a nightmare ever since, because that manufacturer, when something came in damaged, they didn't believe us and were like, oh yeah, you can pay for that and change that.
Oh my, so they weren't.
I'm like, we didn't, they started trying to blame people. And I get that they, we can't have everything perfect and whatever, but the manufacturers we work with the most do back us up as a company, and me as a sales rep, and my customers. They trust me, and I trust our installers. I trust my project managers. And that's a big thing for me, is the trust. And when we send in a discrepancy of some sort, because I tell people I don't sell broken furniture. So when it comes in, if it's damaged, something happens, we want to get that replaced and fixed in a timely fashion. Unfortunately, not every manufacturer feels that same way. And there are actual great reasons why I don't sell furniture. So you live and learn. And that's where, when I'm trying to talk with my customers and help educate them on the products and the services that we offer, that is one big factor of it. And if it does go wrong and they're just like, no way. I mean, seriously, they tried to stick me with $1,000 for some type of chair. And I'm like, first of all, like this was a bid, like, like I'm
Right.
like,
Hmm.
it was hard for me. And because then I had to go back to the customer and figure out, we got it fixed. We got everything figured out. Thankfully, my project manager is amazing. And he's like, I know a guy that can fix this. And we in town, which was great. So we got it fixed. But that is something that is really important. So that's something I'm not a big fan of with certain manufacturers. Not saying I'll do that. And
Right.
I get that they have certain procedures they have to go through. But again, in the end, for me, it's like, remember that there are people behind these phones and these screens, okay? Like, we're not trying to pull one over on you. I'm not trying to get anything from you. I want it to be right for the customer.
So you probably have a kind of a short list of products, manufacturers, people that you like to go to. How do you get on? How does one, if I'm a manufacturer, how do I get on Katey's short list, the recommended list that you always go to?
Well, first of all, try not to sell me. So, um, I honestly, I personally feel I'm not that hard to please as like a manufacturer, or no, sorry, a commercial dealer rep. I want someone that is willing to work with me. Like, I can call you up and say, hey, I have this project. We're working on it. I need some ideas. I'm not a professional in every single line of furniture. We have over 250 manufacturers we can sell from. And there is a very small list that I like to work from. Now, there's some like ancillary things that we'll pull and do different things, but the
Mhm.
bulk of it will work with, the bigger manufacturers that we trust. My big number one, though, is actually the manufacturer rep. So if
Okay.
they are supportive and can help, and I do not expect people to answer me in 2 seconds. That is not who I am, because I don't want people to do that to me.
Right.
I and the person's like, hey, can you help me out with this? And let's work together on it. I'm a team person. I love that. This is what the customer's looking for. Do you have ideas? And if they can get back and they're decent, or when something crazy terrible goes wrong and they're there to help you, that's a big deal for me. Because again, like, hey, drive up. Let's go meet the customer and let's get this right. Because not everything is perfect. And I always tell my customers that not everything is going to come perfect. If it does, we can all cheer and not high five because of COVID. We can do elbows or whatever people do these days. So that is where I'm at on that. I'm just like, it's all about that relationship. Build a good relationship and build that trust between each other. And I will sell your furniture all day long.
I think that's fantastic. So I have a question that came in over Facebook. So, how would you recommend sales reps for building material manufacturers? How can the sales reps apply your strategy of serving people before you sell them?
Perfect. That's interesting, the building materials, because I actually used to, before sales, I was actually an interior designer for a builder and worked with building material people. So that's a great
Fan-
question. Again, it goes back to, we all know building materials, like, hey, you're building a building, you need my help, right? So I've worked with a lot of people in the building industry. And the best ones that worked well with us and what I used to work in was the ones that would just come in and say, hey, how's it going? Again, it's just about the family. Like, come in. If there's anything you need, if you want me to run some pricing for you, you can. If not, that's totally fine. Like, and I know that sounds crazy, but I truly say that, and I do mean it too. Sometimes they don't need your help right that second. You're not for everyone. And I actually just talked to an old building materials rep last week, I think. One of my friends, because again, they're my friends now. And
right.
we were talking about this, and he said the same things. He's like, I wanted to help them because I truly cared about them. Like, I want to help them get what they needed, the best product that they needed. Now, who I worked for, he was very stern in his ways, and that's great. So you have to kind of work with them too and learn. The more you learn about them,
Mhm.
the more you're going to know how to go in and have that conversation. So again, who I used to work for, he was busy 24/7. So what did they do? They talked to me first. And I'm like,
Ah.
cool. I'm the designer. And then I go in and say, hey, so and so boss, have you heard about this? Like, this is actually a really cool idea. And it just sometimes takes time. It's patience, which I don't have. I've been learning. It's so much in patience and like looking for that long game. And I've had people, even in the furniture industry, so again, this can go back to the building industry too, that some people only sell on big projects. I will literally sell a single chair because how many single chairs have led me to very massive opportunities? A lot. Like me even going in, helping someone adjust their chair. Like, and then the other thing, especially in the building industry, if you see, like, if you hear through the grapevine that like a build is not going well, the products didn't make it there in time, take note in the back of your mind and be like, hey, let's work with our lead times. Those are things you can talk to them about, not be like, oh, that person didn't do a good job, blah, blah, blah. No, don't do that.
Right.
Just say, hey, if there's anything we can do, talk about your lead times a little bit more, or talk about the qualities, hear what other people are saying and what didn't maybe go right, and kind of tweak that. Again, I am not for people cutting down others. So like, don't go and be like, well, that person didn't do a good job. No, go in and show what you can offer and how you can help the situation for the next time.
Oh, wow. That's a great answer. I really appreciate you answering Danielle's question there. So follow-up question, or second part of the question is, what would you want from a manufacturer trying to get their product on your radar? What would you want from them?
For me, I grew up in a small town and I actually learned how to weld at the age of 10 because my dad told me that every little girl needs to learn how to weld. And what that turned into was quality. He was a big quality person. He has a custom, he's a custom welder. And so when he had people come in to get help on their farm machinery, he said, I'm going to build it right so you never come back. So if someone's wanting to sell something or want me to show my customer something, the big thing for me is show me how great the product is. Let's talk about the key factors of what it is. You have a new chair? Let me see it. Let me sit in it. And like, it does take time, but again, you're building those relationships. That all takes time. So kind of going back to the building industry thing that Danielle said was like, maybe bring something in, let them test it out, like, you can get samples of things. No, if you tell me you can't, that's not true, because everyone can get samples of things.
That's right.
Not everything, but there are certain samples, and you can talk about the qualities of things. I grew up in Wisconsin. We're in the Midwest. A lot of the people I know it's very important for quality over like quantity. They want good quality stuff. And I tell people too, I'm like, let's do this right the first time so you don't call me again. And people think that's bad sales, but it's really not. Because if someone's not calling me complaining about their chair breaking because you sold them garbage, you won. And guess what? That person is going to tell someone else about you. And oh, by the way, they're going to build a new building someday. Maybe they're not. Or they know someone. I've had so many referrals because I was honest. I was telling them I get down to like, this is this grade of steel. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm like, this is good steel. The steel is better than the other steel. Because I know that and I learned that. And that was something my dad taught me at a young age, especially a woman going into kind of a man's world in the building industry. Okay. And he said, I need you to know a little bit about everything. You don't need to know everything, just a little bit so you can talk the lingo. And then they take you serious. And so that's the kind of stuff is, again, just learning about what you sell. And so on the flip side, if someone wants to sell me, do the same thing and bring that to me. And that's going to go for everyone's going to be a little different though, because not everyone feels the same way I do. But that's how you learn about your customers.
I just think back to the example that you gave, the person that had neck problems, you adjusted their chair. Can you imagine how many people that she will tell, or even in the office, and say, sit in my chair. I have the best chair. I no longer go to the chiropractor because of this chair. Where'd you get that chair, Katey?
Yeah. Yes, and actually I have a quick little story. I had a customer, we sold one chair to or whatever, and I actually got out of the furniture industry for about a year. I left one company, wanted to try something different, and then where I work now has been asking for quite some time, come back in the furniture industry, different company, of course.
Right.
But when I was at the other company, not even in furniture, I literally walked through the door of this other old customer of mine. I was going for a different meeting and I said, "Hey, so-and-so, how do you like your chair?" She hasn't seen me in like 6 months or a year. And she goes, "It's been the best experience, Katey. I don't even go, like, she doesn't go to the chiropractor. She feels great when she gets up. It's a single chair." I am going to be very honest on this live broadcast here. I cried when I left. I was like in my heart, tears in my eyes, because I was like, that person, her life is better, even just a little bit better at her day job because of a single chair. I'm like, that was so great to me. And people say, like, I've had so many people say, "Oh no, I'm not going after that. That's a single thing." I go, "You can call me for one monitor arm and I will come talk to you." Like, no customer is too small or not big enough. I treat everyone the same. I have multi-million-dollar jobs I work on, and I have literally a $300 chair I sell to someone, and I treat them the same, because everyone is, like, to me, everyone matters. And that the referrals are where you're going to grow in sales. It's not the one and dones. It's not that referrals and following up with people, consistency. And the big one is serve over sell right away. Just serve that person, help them, educate them in whatever you're trying to sell, and it will work.
That is great advice right there. If you are listening live, well, I need to encourage you to go to our YouTube channel, check out the podcast. That's a rewind moment right there. Serve over sell. That's fantastic. I think that's a great way to summarize things. So let me go back to what your dad said to you. Coming into this industry, kind of a male-dominated industry. And so how do you feel when you're trying to understand a specific product or material and how it's used in every possible scenario, and you're being quizzed by contractors and home builders? How do you, get that knowledge? Where do you get all of that knowledge?
I just tried everything. So this happened a lot when I was in college. So when I went to college, my dad said, learn a little bit about everything. Okay. No job was ever too gross or dirty for me to go check out and try. I job shadowed people. I tried different things. In my current industry that I'm in right now, I sell something, and if it breaks and I have issues with it multiple times, I take note and I don't probably show that chair again. Or I go to the manufacturer. Yeah, it's not that quick. Right. I do give them a chance. I actually tell the manufacturer, "Hey, we've been having this issue over and over and over again." These manufacturers we work with are massive. They're big. So when they get these warranty claims, sometimes they're not saying that to the other person. So I'll say, "Hey, sales rep person, manufacturer rep, this has been happening multiple times. Please take note of it or let someone know, because right now, this chair or whatever sit-stand desk or whatever it is down here on my list now." We got to figure out how to get it back here. And so, because I don't want that to happen again and again, because number one, it's a pain in the butt for us, and it's really an inconvenience for my customer. So I take note of those specific things and try to have that conversation. But when I was in the building industry, I learned a little bit about plumbing. I learned a little bit about electrical. Okay. And again, I'm no electrician or plumber, but it's hard to say because I think it's changed a lot. But when I was back in college and right out of school, I had a lot of men try to pull one over on me. And if I walked up and said the word well, that conduit is in the wrong area, I think we need to move that because it's not going to work over here, you should see their faces from going by the way, that's the only word I knew, but I used it.
And you used it correctly.
And I used it correctly. Yes, you do need it. Don't make yourself worse than it is. Yes. And so learning those little things, and I liked being on site. That's another thing I loved. I was like, can I come on site and learn how you do something? You know how many contractors love that? It's kind of an inconvenience sometimes, but let's say you subbed out something and I say to a sub, can I just watch just for a few minutes how you put this plumbing in so I make sure I do it better for my plans so it's easier for you in the future? Are you kidding me? And so it's simple little things like that. I actually helped install an entire furniture project one time. It wasn't like planned. We had some issues on shipping, so we needed more people. But I learned from my now project manager, he was the installer at the time. He literally showed me how to do everything. I was drilling and putting things, the desks together and learning those little parts and pieces. I put the chairs together myself. I deliver them. I show people how to use them. So it's again learning those little parts and pieces that will make you more valuable. You're not here just to sell a bunch of products. You need to know about them because I don't want to be a liar. So I want to make sure that my customers are taken care of. And again, they're gonna talk. People talk. So utilize it.
It sounds to me that you're a very experienced person, that you want to be able to sit in the chair. You want to adjust the chair. You want to know everything there is to know about that chair. Is that right?
It is. Now, before I go, I can't sit in every chair. There's thousands. So there are times that I will sell something to someone that I've never personally sat in, but I get information from other reps that have.
Okay.
I will be like, hey, have anyone sold this? What are your thoughts? Or I'll reach out to our teams to say, hey, what's this? Is this working well? Or no, Katey, that was a disaster. We had an issue with those chairs or whatever it may be. It could be desks, tables, whatever. And I get more research on it. And there's been times that I've sold chairs that I've personally never sat in. And then I go in and I'm like, man, this is sweet. Like, and I learn about it in front of the customer, and things like that. I try to be just really authentic and real. And I'm like, hey, I've never actually sat in this chair, but if you guys trust me, normally though, I should preface this because I really want people to understand. I'm a big try before you buy on your task chair, your desk chair. I tell people I'm not going to give you a magazine to look through chairs.
Right.
Let's try them out. You're going to sit in them for more than a day. But like your conference chairs and your other things like that and your soft seating, I'll learn about it as I go. But I do a lot of research and I ask a lot of questions from people that have used it before.
So it sounds to me, to kind of like put a global view on this, it sounds to me that part of your success is really two things, and you can add to this list, but I'm going to say them: communication, and so talking to the rep, talking to the peoples, and investment. And when I say investment, that's the time investment to go to the project, to see that. Would you agree with communication and investment?
Yes, those are huge, huge important things for me. And yes, it does take some time. I have done a lot better over the years in my time management and figuring out how I can do these things. I'll like batch like a whole day and be like, I'm gonna crank out and see all these people, like in as much as I can, because it's a lot of drive time sometimes. But when that customer sees you walk through the door to make sure that their product is great and everything's working well, that I've been told this before, that last 2% of the job where you come in, you make sure it's wiped down perfect, you do the walkthrough, and I don't do all my walkthroughs. We have a project manager for that, which I'm so grateful for. I used to do them, and that's where I was working 80 hours a week and had no life and had to quit because I couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
But you have those people that you trust, and then you go in and you just follow up. You stay consistent with those people. How are you doing? And there's so many times, especially in COVID, because I couldn't go anywhere. I just email and say, hey, how are your kids? How's everything going? Make a phone call. I saw you on Facebook. I'm friends with a lot of my people on Facebook. Hey, I saw you posting on Facebook. How did that go? And they're like, are you kidding me? And then they're like, Katey, I've been meaning to talk to you. Can you we were doing another project. I didn't even ask about a project. I didn't even say anything, but it's just being able to talk to someone. And actually our CEO of our company said that in the middle of COVID, he goes, all I need you to do is call and say hi. Just call and say hi, email and say hi to people. It's not about trying to get another sale. It's about seeing how people are actually doing, because this is a tough time and everyone's going through things, not just in COVID, but everyone's going through their own struggles. And if you can just be like a lend an ear or listen, or they can vent something out, or they can tell you something exciting. My mentor, Doug, taught me people love to talk about themselves. So listen and let them. And learn about them. Yeah.
I think I like that approach. Just call them, not just send them an email.
Yeah.
And especially that dreaded just checking in email. If you're calling them, and even if you do have to email them, you can still ask the question, how are your kids doing? It's not a cold thing. It's not in these troubling times, I'm checking on you right now. It is a matter of, I know you, and I'm going to ask about your 3 kids. I know you, and I'm going to ask about your family. So I think it's very interesting that you're also friends with them on Facebook, because that adds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, it adds an extra level of responsibility on your part as the
Yeah.
sales. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yes, and I will say most of the time I don't try to add them. Like I'll be
Right.
like, hey, if someone's like, oh, what else are you doing? Because I ask them about things in their life, and then they ask me. Or and this is so funny. I'm saying this because I'm going to prove a point to my dad. Like I love shoes. You and I talked about this, but I love shoes. I'm a shoeaholic. I just love it so much. But and he says shoes don't doesn't make you money. I go, it does for me, because guess what? My shoes, like that is such a conversation starter, right? Oh my God, I love your shoes. I'm like, thank you. Let me tell you about it. And then I like, that's that conversation and getting out of that realm of like work world, like just
Right.
I'm a normal person. I skate down the middle of the road, and so
You're a
having that,
human.
I know I'm not gonna come in here and just try to sell you on everything. That's just not who I am, and that's not how I was raised. But going into it as like being able to have that conversation and making them feel comfortable. Sometimes they'll be like, hey, we should follow each other on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And I'm like, yes. But that you said it when you're like, you have a little bit more responsibility. I take my social media very serious, like, and not in like not Katie way. Like I put me ice skating down the middle of the road, but people feel comfortable and know me a little bit better. I have people, I got engaged over Christmas, and how many customers straight up emailed me, didn't even like, maybe they liked it on social media, but they emailed me, oh my gosh, congratulations. Like little things like that. And I do the same to them. Like, oh my gosh. But it does give you more responsibility to make sure you're not, and I'm not a drinker. I don't drink, and we don't like neither my fiance and I, we don't party or anything that like that. But I want to have that conversation and that dialogue, but I want to show them like I am still a human. I can still have fun. I can do these crazy things, and then we can chat about them because everyone is human. I think I answered your question. If I didn't, please tell me.
No,
I
that's
kind of,
there's so much. It just goes down to everyone is a human. Just like you're not the typical used car salesman when people think of sales, and they're not another number to help you meet your quota. It comes down to the most basic level that we are all human, and can you help me solve my problem? Whether that's a neck pain, whether that is I need to fill this, I need to fill my new office with 200 desks, and I need the best one. It all comes down to us, each person being just that, a person. Do you think that this is something that can catch on, or do you see some of that old school, still kind of used car salesman? What are you seeing out there in the sales industry?
I feel the people I surround myself with do very similar sales to me. And uh and I love that. And I love helping. I mean, I talk to my competitors. Like we're friends, some of us are. Like, and so like and to me I don't believe in competition. That sounds crazy. I am competing with myself every day to
Hmm.
do better for me and learn every single day to be a better version of Katie the next. And so I've learned to kind of take that on myself and be able to be me. Now, people are going to listen to this and be like, oh, I'm going to do everything Katie says. That might not work for you because we're not the same person and no one is the same person. So take these little things that may work and try them out. Have some humor with it. I had a customer come to me and say, oh my God, I love this story. This happened earlier or late last year. He's like, okay, we need to do this thing. We need to spend money, like the end of the year thing. And I'm like, great, I can spend your money all day long. Like just joking. Like,
Right.
and he knows that from me because we've known each other. And at the end of it, he goes, you got to give me a good deal. And I'm like, of course. Like, first of all, you're on a contract. Like, of course you're going to get a good deal. He goes, but make sure there's just a little in there for you so you can go to Taco Bell. And I'm like, and I laughed. I said, I don't like Taco Bell. I can't have dairy. Can I go to Jersey Mike's instead? And he goes, oh, now you're rolling big. He goes, and he was like joking. I'm like, sorry. I mean, is that okay? Like, we just have some fun with it and like joke around about it. And the other thing is be honest, because there are times in your life, like I was very honest, not to like, oh, poor me, but last year I lost someone very close to me in my life, and I was in a terrible place for a little bit. And that might be another positive of some of these customers, not all of them, some know me on Facebook and see me or whatever, and they realize that, she's going through something, and then they reach out and ask. But be completely honest. Don't lie to someone. If you forget to do something and you said you were going to do it, say, I am so sorry. I totally misplaced this. I'm going to get it to it right away. Or when something goes wrong, Doug also taught me this. Never, ever, ever blame anyone else. Always take the blame. And at first I was like, but it wasn't my, what if it's not my fault? He goes, it doesn't matter. Do not blame anyone else, because guess what? That customer does not know anyone at that manufacturing plant. They don't care. They're never going to forgive the manufacturer. They will forgive you because you are a human and you're in front of them. So if you take the blame and just say, I'm so sorry, we will get this figured out. We will get this taken care of. Not like, I'm so sorry, my designer did this wrong. No, do not blame anyone. And I have done that to the nth degree, because I'm like, I'm going to take it, even though it's not my fault. You know what I mean? Like, you're right. But you take that, and then the customer will learn to forgive you. It might take a little bit because you can make mistakes, but you are a human and you're in front of them. They can't forgive your company because it's like a name, right? They can't forgive the bigger manufacturing company because they can just be mad at them. They don't know them, but they know you.
Right. I love that perspective, especially I love your perspective on competition. Just to kind of go back to that it's you're competing against yourself to get better. And I've also found that a lot of salespeople, when they start selling against the competition, all of a sudden it's you and the competition, and the customer is over in left field, and they're completely forgotten. You're not keeping in mind their needs. And I think what you just said about communication and taking it on yourself, that goes back to that communication and investing. And that really hits home. I think that's so important. So I'm going to let you brag a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your speaking and your podcast that's up. Tell our audience where, we can find out more about Katey.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. This has been such a joy. The easiest place, honestly, if you want to know more about me, I kind of have a mix of everything. I do talk about sales and educate on different types of building relationships and stuff. And I've done that on the speaking side of things. And I also obviously speak to kids, parents, and teachers on all sorts of topics. Right now, I'm kind of in the middle of learning about yourself, self-advocacy, building confidence. These seem like, oh yeah, great topics. No, there's a lot inside of all of those topics that can help everyone in the world. Absolutely. And so the easiest place to find me is over at kateyfortun.com. So there's a bunch of information over there, and I'm honestly Katey Fortun everywhere. So you can just find me on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And my podcast, though, is called the Different Ability Podcast. Okay. You can find it pretty much anywhere you find podcasts, but it's again all on my website. You'll be able to find it all. And I just try to spread kindness, positivity, motivating things. Every week I do a YouTube show all about motivation and just little tidbits of things that I've learned. Like I love storytelling, and obviously you can see that from hearing this the whole time. I have many stories, but I feel that stories connect people, and they make people like understand, like, wow, if she can do it, I could. And oh my gosh, I'm not the only one that feels that way. Like if you're having a tough day, or, oh my gosh, Katey's been screamed at by a customer. Yeah, it was not fun. And that's real quick before I stop with that one, because I also want to tell people not every customer is the right customer for you either.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to look into that. That sounds terrible and it's really hard to swallow, especially when you have to make the quotas.
Right.
If people are really terrible to you, you shouldn't and don't have to deal with that. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that quickly when someone truly did scream at me for literally no reason. And it was really, really uncalled for. And after we finished and the project was perfect, I excused myself from that account. I said no more because I'm like, I have confidence in myself and I put myself up on this pedestal for myself, no one else, saying I'm not going to let people treat me that way. And that's not okay. So, and that's what I'm trying to teach to others in every area. And that is something that I'm working on every day. And I'm not perfect, but you can learn a little bit every day. And my dad says, if you're not learning at least one thing every day, you're really not living. So get out there and learn something.
That is great advice, and I think certainly today we have learned a lot from you, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. Those of you that are out there listening, you can catch Katey Fortun at kateyfortun.com. Check out her podcast, pretty much anything. If you want to check out her social media, I would go to her website first because that's where you can go from, wherever you like to consume, all the different things that she's putting out there, and they sound like great things. So we really appreciate your advice and help today, Katey, understanding manufacturers, understanding selling, understanding the human a little bit better today. So thanks for joining us, and I'll let you know when the podcast is up and ready to go.
Thanks. You so much, Paul. This has been wonderful.
Been a great time. Thanks, Katey. We'll talk to you later. And as we wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to ask you a quick question. We're talking about consistency with Katey. We're talking about all these different things, but I want to know, what's the first thing you do when you sit down at your desk? Do you then get up and go get coffee? Hopefully you already have your coffee. I don't know. Me, I need my coffee in the morning. So do you have a to-do list that you set up the night before? Is that what you're doing consistently? Do you just open up your email and just start firing off emails and answering your emails? Do you open up your calendar and plan out your day? And so during this week, we ask that you engage with us on all the social media where we are, Facebook, Twitter, and as well as on YouTube. You can put it in the comments, but answer this question. What's the first thing that you do when you sit down at your desk to begin your day? And until next time, of course, we're here live every Tuesday at 2. Until next time, please engage with us in all the socials, as I mentioned. This is where you can find Manobite. And if you would like to email me, it's will.smith@manobite.com. And as we close things out, we thank Katey for joining us today. And of course, you can watch the replay on YouTube. You can also listen to the podcast wherever you enjoy podcasts, not only this one, but also Katey's podcast as well. And we ask that as we close things out today, that until next time, you take care of yourself and take care of each other, and may all your adventures be great.